to show you how I've built out this in Antigravity that pretty much generates all my content for the week and sends it all to Notion. So all I have to do is make any minor changes and edits and run a few prompts, and pretty much I'm good to go from there. The key thing here to remember is all this is up to the point of Notion obviously is 100% automated, and all I do is I go through this entire process here and either create some of the content in terms of reels or tidy up some of the text and create some of the images. But other than that, it is, I suppose, 80% generated. So there's no more I'm having to jump to different platforms trying to build out exactly what I want to do for the week. Have a clear idea based on my overall input form. So all I do here, and what I'll do, is quickly go through the entire setup here of how we built it out. Again, just hold my hands up straight up. I have no idea about coding. There's probably things in this I haven't done 100% right, and I know if I was to rebuild this again, I'd rebuild it differently. One thing I would recommend is build it out from the chat here. My problem was I was building it out through Gemini, the web browser, and bringing in information into here, and then what was happening is trying to work on fix on Gemini side and fix over here on this side, which became a massive problem, and literally I burned through all my allocations here, tokens that I've had. So again, you're better off get a clear idea of what you want and prompt it in here, and from there it'll build. So first things first is my inputs. So I have to input this to start it all off. It takes all the information from a transcript. Now all I do is I jump over to my own YouTube video, so over here, and all I want to do is I just grab the transcript. And this is a brilliant way to repurpose your content and helps you kind of generate more content without necessarily having to always rethink and redo it all. So all I do, paste it in and save it. Make sure in Antigravity always Control S to save, otherwise it doesn't automatically save, which can be pretty annoying if you don't copy it straight away. So now we have this, the task basically, we have a knowledge base loaded up of information about what I'm doing, short form content, everything is built into it. These are all PDFs that have been uploaded, and from there all I've done is generated prompts, and these are all, I suppose, skills to an extent, agents, things like that. And what they do is they have a purpose and they have a reason. So if we jump over here to the carousel builder, the output of this is going to upload it obviously to my Notion dashboard. It's going to be Instagram carousel idea, and again we just quickly jump over here to Notion. You can see I only have one in it at the moment, so we're hoping here it populates everything once it's finished and make life much easier for you. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe run the prompt and start the entire process up. You can see here on the left hand side in the outputs we have nothing in that folder at the moment. So ideally what it does first, it generates a content strategy. So what happens is we have the first bot here, I think it is, and what this is going to do is it's going to run through the process of getting the transcript, breaking it all down, and it's going to break it down to what exactly we need the output. So again, it's going to give me reel opportunities, it's going to give me image opportunities, and obviously carousels, text posts, things like that. As I said, all I'm going to do is run it. So again, all we go up to the factory settings here. This is pretty much the agent that kickstarts everything off, and we have a simple enough trigger, is run the factory. So all I do is I put it in here, we pick which model we want to use, and from there it's going to start the process. So again, run the factory. What we want to see is it's starting to pull some of the information from the inputs, and then we want to see generate outputs. So it's analyzing pretty much this, what's the process, workflow steps, drafting, publishing, obviously clean up everything, and then hopefully send everything over. Now again, as I said to you, originally my problem here is I think I built it 100% wrong originally, and what ends up happening then is I was a bit going back and forth trying to fix the mistakes, and I think it is much easier. I've tested with it on a smaller scale, and it is much easier to kind of get the fine tune. And I think one of the key things here is making sure you have your initial setup stage done right. So like as I said, I had to jump a lot back and forth trying to get the markdown files all sorted and done right, which pretty much made it tough. Now one thing I would recommend is I have all the processes here using Claude. So the API is connected, so what's happening is it's going to use Claude to actually generate the content, because I do find that Claude is a million times better when it comes to actually generating content. So we just accept these again, and one of the key things here is I think it'll work and it'll help obviously identify problems, and we'll start to work away with it. So already you can see there is some errors happening, and again, just turn this down altogether. And what we're going to do is let it hopefully work away, and within a few minutes we'll have all the content. So you can see it over here, it's running the Reels director, sending requests to Claude. Again, hopefully the connection is still all okay there, and only a matter of time before it. And I suppose the best thing here is it'll automatically populate everything in here for us, and it doesn't really cost a massive amount even run through Claude, because if you check it up here, I ran it as $1.15 it cost me originally to try and get up and running, and this was, you know, a lot of redoing the same things over and over again. So even if it costs $1 each to run each time, you know, you're still going to have a mountain of content. So just to let you know before, while that's working, is I go through this in the school community. I've started to build this out. Look, I focus on AI, but I focus on ways to can help a business day-to-day run their things. Yes, we can build these unique and unreal apps and things that look absolutely really shiny online, but the realistic side of this is you need to build something that's actually going to reduce time. For me, this was taking originally probably the repurposing content, trying to break it all down, was taking hours to do it. Now, as I said, I can run this in the background, pretty much keep doing what I'm doing, and from there it's going to start creating what we want. So I said that in itself is massive. So as I said, here you can have all access to different videos I'm making, including this one should be up on it by the time you're watching the video. And what I do is I break it down, go through the entire video is there, a complete breakdown of how this is used in a real life business. I think this is key, because now what happens, people can start to understand what's happening. I have obviously infographics, resource files with PDFs, presentations broken down, all covering the topic, but all covering from different angles. So hopefully it helps you understand a bit more. And again, if you're interested in joining, it's free to join. So we jump back over here to Antigravity, and what I might have to do is maybe speed up this entire section here, because it could take a little bit longer to kind of work on. But if we see already some of the outputs, so we have final reel scripts already have started. Again, we're not published 100% yet, it's still working, I think, in the background. Has been successfully started. Initiate one drafting. So since this is long running background, looking at the logs, it's proceeding correctly. Next steps, once the drafting phase completes, we will need to execute step 2, and in a few minutes I will verify. So again, it's working away. One thing I did notice here already is I'm not 100% sure whether the outputs, it should have outputted a strategy of the breakdown of the transcript first, so I'll have to kind of go into that. But again, we have our final text posts. So again, you can see LinkedIn profile, the post details. Here's the actual post itself broken down. If we go up to the carousels, this is the key one with the carousels. What I wanted is done like this. So what's happening is it's giving us the entire prompt now. So what I'm going to do is just going to pick this first one, and with that I'm going to quickly load up Gemini, and we create image, paste it in, and all I want to do is make sure we're on Pro as usual and execute. So my next addition to this will be to have another agent jump in here, and with that what they're going to do is the agent is going to pull this information, connect to Google's API for Nano Banana, and from there it's going to generate each individual image and then upload them all to Notion. So then there is no more of me having to go back and do this and manually do this stage of it. This is probably the next bottleneck that it's going to come into. So again, you know, a great way to kind of do it. So, and there's our first slide, I suppose, for this entire series. So 20 reels in 20 minutes using AI to kill the content creation pain. And you can see it feeds directly into my overall video. Again, it's in context, I suppose, with your actual video. I think that's one of the key things. So for me personally, and obviously for you it might be a bit different, but for me, all I do is I spend time creating on long form content. If I'm happy with the long form content, and from there then what I can do is pretty much release them, and I plan to create like maybe 3 videos per week. So that's 30 pieces of content that are nearly almost generated for me each week using this entire process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video, and once it's kind of gone through the entire steps, and hopefully I'll get back to it before we start uploading it to Notion. But as I said, everything is running perfectly for us at this moment in time. it is bringing it in obviously from the transcript, as you can see straight away from that image done there, which is perfect. Fits Instagram size straight away. Aspect ratio 4:5, and something different pops out and stays consistent with everything that I'm doing. So look, I'm going to pause the video and hopefully show you in a minute once everything is kind of finished. Okay, so back again here. Obviously sometimes what can happen here with especially using Gemini 3 down there is it can seem to just stall out. So again, I just asked it, are you working? Again, check the command and pretty much accept the upload. So everything was done, but the problem was nothing was finalized in terms of publishing it to Notion. So I think that's one of the biggest problems. One thing I did notice here in this entire process is it didn't output an overall strategy for me yet. So I have to kind of go back over here. So again, you're the lead editor and strategist for Send Editor Marketing. Your goal is to analyze the transcript. Do not simply pick the first ideas. And from there, it was meant to give me like a breakdown of what it is. So again, I've had one specific bot for one specific reason. And I think that's one of the key things to remember there. And I think potentially that could be the problem here, is why it didn't publish it. Now, however, it did. Publishing cleanup phase completed. So again, these should be all going through to Notion. There you have it. You have all pieces went right through to Notion perfectly. I think it's 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we have 10 pieces of content ready to work. So again, this one is a LinkedIn profile post. It's breaking it down to how we wanted it. Again, you can change these around a little bit. Obviously, editing yourself, putting your own spin on it, what you think is going to work best for you. And again, if I can go to the one that we created with the carousel. So you can see this is the carousel. So we've created obviously this slide originally. And again, all you're doing then is just copying this, bringing it over. And from there, it is pretty much ready to go. And one last thing I want to show you is the reels. So again, here's with reels. And what it does for me, and this is for me personally, this is how I like to get them. So it gives me the audio, basically is what I have to say. It gives me visually on screen what I have to actually have on screen, and obviously the camera setup. Again, this can change based on each person, but the idea here is to give you some sort of talking point. I don't use this word for word. However, it does allow me to understand what I have to do and potentially change the approach of it based on it all. So look, that is pretty much the entire system, how it runs. You can see there I got 10 pieces of content, including the slides, the carousels, all within probably, what was the video, 15 minutes. There was very little work I had to do with it other than click confirm. I have to kind of fix some of the problems that I have had with it, but other than that, everything that seems to be outputted seemed to be absolutely perfect for what you needed. Images, again, what it's doing is giving me a breakdown of everything. So you can see again, this is the entire prompt to generate the image for me. And what we'll do is we'll copy that one as well. We'll go over to Gemini, pretty much ask it to do the same thing. And what's going to happen is it's going to generate an image, something that's going to work for us for this. It's not a carousel. We have a bit of context if you want to bring into it. Now again, changes I would make to this is maybe have it give a brief description, a caption that we can use for this, and then, as I said, it is almost ready to go again. So look, we wait and see on this one, and there's another image ready to go. 20 pieces of content, one system, one sitting. Again, falls into exactly what we're trying to do, showcases the problems. So again, people straight away are going to be interested in that. We can tweak these if we want to, and again, if you really want to make finer changes, you can go in here to the images. So if we look for the image markdown, you can see here the breakdown I have on it. This could be made better. We're using our own brand colors, hence why the colors are always staying similar with the blues and the purples. Then, as I said, you can see the output we want for each one, and you can see production notes, emotional job, recognition, reframe, reinsurance. So again, these are the angles you're taking. One other thing, I suppose, finally, I think is really good for knowledge based is if you can do research on different topics. And if you research on different topics, so in specific, say, reels for toxic, you can find out what makes reels good, what makes them bad, how to structure them, what's hooks, things like that. And again, it breaks it all down for you. So look, this is a bit of a deep dive, I suppose, and overview of exactly how this entire system works. What I'll do is I'm going to go through this a bit more and break it down and start building out these maybe agents one by one. And then eventually what you start to do is start connecting them up more and more to incorporate them more into your business. But as you can see from this entire process, you know, as I said, it's saving me hours without having to go through all this. And even the case of setting up through Notion and manually having to go in and create each individual thing is just so time consuming. So look, I'm going to leave it there. If you're interested in learning more about that and obviously other things, you can definitely join the group, the free group. I go through AI basics, build it on marketing foundations, because I think this is what so many people in the whole AI space are missing, is the marketing side of things. It's brilliant having shiny new objects, but the problem is if you don't know the fundamentals of marketing, who your audience is, you're pretty much going nowhere. So that's one of the key things. We have free tools here that you can get access to, obviously, for anyone that's joining. And we have video library that I mentioned, prompt library again. And this is more or less things that I'm doing myself, and obviously that can potentially help people along the way. So you can see this I made yesterday, went through how I did it, and breaks down how I turned it into a video using different AI tools. So look, thanks very much for watching, and I hope everyone has a great day.